Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special little review of a special little show. This is Obscure Reference. I am Patrick. I'm joined today by my esteemed co-host and guest, Will. Say hello, Will.
Hi.
No, I said
Hello.
say
That's
hello.
me.
Okay, you got there. All right,
I got there.
you got there. All right. So today we're talking about Invincible, season two, the first half of season two, episodes one through four, and maybe a little bit of the Adam Eve special since we haven't really covered that in any official capacity on this channel. Um, did you get the chance to watch the Adam Eve special? Maybe we just don't talk about it.
I did actually. I think
Okay.
it's a very nice prologue to season two.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it's because in the comics I don't think you really get that full story. I think it's like a spin-off comic, so I don't know if I've actually read it, but I was aware of like the characters and the circumstances surrounding her birth and her abilities. So I think it's a good precursor for things to come later in season two, later on seasons past that. But it's just a good little like deep dive into who Eve is and where she comes from. Um, cool, got that out of the way. Let's talk about some real stuff. No, I'm kidding. So Invincible.
Title
I
drop.
Yep, title drop. I'm feeling anyway. Um, so real quickly, walk me through just like, did you read any of the comics or did you just go in blind with the show? Have you considered going into the comics at all or
Um, I remember when it came out. I was back in my apartment in college. My roommates didn't want to watch it, so I was watching it on my own.
hmm
I think I waited until um the final stretch of episodes came out for season one, and I dug it. I dug the storyline. I dug all the casting. I love J.K. Simmons. He is a literal god amongst mortals, just
hmm
like Omni Man.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I've thought about going to the comics. From what I've seen, they're pretty. It's not super duper long running. Whereas, like there's a God knows how many versions of Spider-Man titles
Oh,
or
geez, yeah.
Batman titles. It's nice to have a smaller repertoire to pull from. The other thing too is that the writer for Invincible, I think one of the creators, Robert Kirkman, he
hmm
actually got the license for the Transformers comics this past year, and
Oh, that's
they're like,
right.
yeah,
I've heard about
and
this.
yeah, and Robert Kirkman is a huge Transformers fan,
There you
and
go.
I'll touch on that later, but yeah, I'm honestly considering maybe getting bleh, blah blah blah. Gave a trade paperback of like the first set of Invincible comics.
Okay.
Just see, because I know what I've read, things are a little bit different. Are there a couple of
hmm
visual differences, or like Amber in the comics is Caucasian,
Yep.
white. Amber in the cartoon is black based off her voice actress Zazie Beetz.
Yep.
So,
Yep. Yep.
but yeah, no, I can't wait to see how the rest of it plays out.
Yeah. I'm a little different, and by a little different from that, I mean completely different.
Oh boy.
I was made aware that an Invincible show is happening, and I happen to be following one of the biggest Invincible fans on Twitter, and he wouldn't shut up about it. So I was like, let me read the first few issues, see if I dug it. And I got to, maybe like issue five or six, and I'm like, man, this isn't pulling me. This isn't doing anything for me. And then you get to issue 10, I think, and that's where the Omni Man thing happens. And it was like, okay, I'm in. Hook, line, and sinker, I'm in. And I just kept reading and reading. I wanted to at least get to a point where I thought season one might end, but I just kept going. And I ended up picking up not one, not two, but all three of the compendiums. Uh, so you could say I'm a fan of Invincible. I've read the entire comics run. It really isn't that long. I mean, it is like 140 some issues, and so it's not short, but um, it's a really good read. I really enjoy Invincible and watching it be brought to life by the studio working on it. It's been such a joy seeing it. Just like because it's you mentioned it, it's been told in different ways. There's some changes they're making. Just in terms of when certain events play out, like I have a fun anecdote. It's not super fun, honestly, but The Annie Men from the last season. That was a plot point I hadn't gotten to in the comics, but they pushed it up a little earlier. Just kind of make things interesting, more interesting, flow better in the show. So I was a little spoiled on that, but I was like maybe a couple issues behind that, so it didn't matter. But yeah. All that being said,
That was a very fun anecdote.
yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. But I came into the season with high hopes, just knowing what we were to expect and what we were the material we were going to be adapting and seeing here. And I pretty much called exactly where this first half of the season was going to end, and they said as much. They were like, "Yeah, well, episode 4 is going to be something, and episode 8,
And that is gonna be the bigger thing.
yeah, and if episode 8 is going to be what I think it's going to be, and I think it is going to be that, it's going to be something." So that's all I'll say. But we'll keep it. We're only going to be talking about spoilers for the show. I will not be touching on anything from the comics aside from maybe slight changes. Yeah, that's as far as we'll go as far as spoilers go. But
Cool.
yeah, do you have any general thoughts on how this first half of the second season played out?
Um, I was very excited going into it because when they released the cast list back during what was it, Comic-Con, I think this year.
Yeah, sounds
Um,
right.
one Peter Cullen showed up, and if you're a Transformers fan like me, you know
Hmm.
exactly who he is.
Yep,
Um, Optimus freaking Prime
I
for what
thought it.
40 years. 40 years he's been doing it. Good lord.
Good for him.
I know he's getting that back. Actually, I got a chance to meet him this earlier this year. Not to brag, I will. Um, he's a sweetheart. I love him.
He
You know,
seems
I
nice.
love. He, you know he's Canadian, by the way.
Did not know that. That makes sense.
Childhood crush. Goodbye.
I could, man, maybe I'm thinking of someone else. We're way off topic at this point, but
No,
um,
I know. I had to bring it up because
no,
it's
of
funny.
course. I mean, I didn't even think about it when I asked you to join me on this because, like, when Peter Cullen was announced as Thetis, I'm like, that fits perfectly. And then he shows up, I'm like, that fit perfectly as well as I thought it would. And then out of sight, out of mind. But of course, yeah, that's a big deal for you. We love Peter
Yeah,
Cullen.
and I do. And Robert Kirkman loved Transformers. I love Transformers. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I see what you're cooking, Mister Kirkman.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't. I know they released a behind the scenes featurette of Seth Rogen recording his lines, so it would have been really cool to see if they had recorded it all together because I know some shows sometimes do that.
Yeah.
Probably less so after COVID, but yeah, I was very excited to hear his voice. I'm like, oh my god, that's Optimus freaking Prime, guys! Um, and I was a little curious, and I peeked at the comic counterpart history, and interesting stuff. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
I did look.
I man, I started making some faces. Interpret those how you will. I'm just not gonna say anything about Thetis. He's a person that lives in this comic book world. That's
He
all I'll say.
exists. Okay, good.
Yes.
Overall, I think it did. Let me put it this way: second season so far has done out what it's set to do. That it still has this. It still makes things yeah, interesting, despite you know, Omni Man kind of being literally out of the world up until the last episode.
Hmm.
And I think that can't think. I like seeing the focus on the Guardians of the Globe and how they're forming as a team.
Yeah.
Kind of felt like it's not that they didn't get enough development in the first season. It's just it's nice to have the world building with them because Mark can't. I don't know if he does in the comics. I'm sure he does, but he'll be going with um or he'll start working with the Guardians of the Galaxy,
A
Guardians of the Globe,
little
wrong
different.
company. Little bit tongue twister. Um, but yeah, seeing their dynamic, plus Adam Eve's plot dynamic. No, that doesn't make sense. Adam Eve's development.
Hmm.
Um, and I will say Amber is not annoying. I
Mm.
know some people think she's really annoying. I don't think she's annoying. Perfectly normal human being who has flaws, maybe lapses in judgment. but or I'm talking about Emmer from first season.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of anything else that that comes to mind. Um, oh, one thing I think the show kind of gets dinged on too much for is the animation because
Okay.
I grew up watching the Justice League cartoon and
Hell yeah.
Justice League Unlimited, Batman
Mm-hmm.
Beyond, all those DC shows, and I think the animation is or for Invincible is actually a little bit better because it's there's not as many errors. Granted, I've seen the Justice League cartoon so many times
Mm-hmm.
that I know like where they are.
Sure. Yeah.
You just don't want like the eye color might be wrong or excuse me, I know in season one Justice League Superman had these cheekbones that made him look really old.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, weird. But like with Invincible, the only thing I could ding it for animation is I think it was like the second or third episode this season, where it's just them flying out. Oh, I think it's third episode
Mm-hmm.
when Mark takes Amber to Vegas and they just fly away.
Oh
It's just
yeah.
I saw a meme on Twitter where it's like dragging the JPEG
Yep.
up the screen.
Yep.
But I mean, that's just a funny thing. But like, um, it's supposed to evoke Saturday morning cartoons, and it's not supposed to be, you know, freaking Spider Verse levels of insanely detailed animation. It's a stylistic choice,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that for being a comic book cartoon, but an adult cartoon, it works, despite what
Okay.
people think. Especially, um, if the parents of a kid happen to, I'm just never mind. It's too gory. It's way too gory.
Yeah. No, for sure. I might push back a little bit on the animation, but with like an asterisk. Because like I totally understand and appreciate just how hard animation is. I know why it took them, 2 years almost to get, 4 episodes out of a second season. Like I totally understand, I totally respect and get that, this is not something I could ever have the patience to do. But I did like notice like the first episode was actually really looked really nice, looked really good. But at the further we kind of got in, it was like, I've watched a lot of anime and a lot of that stuff when it hits broadcast, you can start to see the quality decline the further you get into a season, like week to week. I saw a little bit of that and, you can see where they're cutting corners and, that's totally fine. I get it. But it is noticeable when it is just a PNG being dragged across the screen or being zoomed out as he flies off into the distance. Like, I'm no animation expert, certainly. So, take it for what it's worth. But I did notice that. But it did hit where it counted. I say all that, but they did, pull all the stops out when, the other shoe hit the fan. That's the thing that kids say, right?
I'm younger than you, so I'm just gonna say maybe.
Oh, you're my boots on the ground. You're supposed to be giving me the intel here. What are the kids saying these days?
When the glizzy drops,
Okay, we'll take it.
that
We'll
could be
take it.
hard.
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah, my thoughts line up pretty similarly to yours. I come from a different perspective of I know where things are going. I know what seeds are being planted and which ones to look out for. So when we start that first episode and it is an alternate timeline with Angstrom Levy,
Oh yeah.
which I'm gonna be honest, I've read his name as Levy, Angstrom Levi. I didn't say Levy. I didn't say Levy is the point I'm trying to make. And then they said, I'm like, this is gonna take some getting used to, but I'm already used to it, so it's not a big deal. But so like I know what's being built up there. I did get a pop because they added some stuff to kind of like bounce Mark back from his fight with Omni Man at the end of the last season. We have a really good like montage of him just doing superheroes, trying to get his mind off things, and that was I think the first episode of this batch of episodes was probably my favorite. It's between that and the last one for obvious reasons. We can talk about that eventually, but I really liked because it is like at this point in the comics, it is a bunch of like odds and ends of Mark dealing with and Debbie to an extent dealing with the ramifications of Nolan's actions from the end of the last season or beginning of the last season, I guess, when he kills the original Guardians of the Globe. And like you see Mark go to Atlantis, you see Debbie deal with the ghost's husband. Like, there's a lot of like stuff that's kind of them picking up the pieces. And gosh, man, we can talk about Debbie all day. I fucking love Debbie. She's the best.
Debbie, I want to give Debbie a hug, man.
I do too. There were like three different moments where I'm like, girl, you need a hug. Like, man, they added some stuff here and there to like make her like, feel like she had more to do. Like, I don't think that support group was a part of the comics, but I really liked it.
It's an interesting idea too, because
Mm-hmm.
um, all of the Guardians had civilian lives. I feel like something that's really glossed over, especially
Yeah,
in other like Marvel stuff. You don't really see their support group
right. Yeah,
outside of heroic. So I think that was really interesting angle to take.
yeah, and I like that it was Olga, the wife of the speedster at the Guardians of the Globe. I don't remember any of the Guardian of the Globe's names. I'm like, I see them. I know what's gonna happen to them. I just forget them. But
He's a literal red shirt too.
I know literally. But I mean, we have her introduce Debbie to this group, and it's like of course she would know about it because she's dealing with the death of her husband. Maybe they were engaged. I don't remember.
I think they
Um,
were married. I
okay,
think they were.
yeah, yeah. Olga's not hugely important if you couldn't tell, but um, but yeah, I mean that was just one of the few additions that I really liked. The other tweak they made was with Adam Eve's story. Like she goes off in not in a completely different direction in the comics. She does go in a slightly different direction than what she's doing now. But I love that she's trying to fix the damage caused in Chicago. Shout to Chicago represent. Um, where she's trying to fix the damage done. I don't think the city was actually well. First of all, the rampage that Mark and Nolan go on at the end of the last season is not nearly as cataclysmic as it was in the show. In the comics, it's not contained in the slightest, but like it's a bloodbath at the end of the last season. But we see Adam Eve kind of trying to repair that stuff, and I really like that because of course that's what she tries to do. It's in the same vein of what she does in the comics at this point. And I like that that doesn't go fully well for her, and we see the ramifications of that. And I really liked that. It's not how it is in the comics, really,
Yeah,
but that's just showing the strength of what an adaptation like this can be. It's telling you the general story of the original material, but it's also tweaking it in a way that fits the show and fits because the comics did come out like 15 years ago, maybe a little more than that at this point, but it worked. Um, And I'm trying to think if there are any other big dramatic changes. I will say, seeing Mark run into Nolan on Thracia like that so quickly felt like it was a little too quick. But I looked in the comics and it really is just like 13 issues. Like after Nolan leaves and he runs into him. So it was like properly paced out. It just felt a lot quicker than when I was reading it for the first time. Uh, but I think that those were like the big changes. I think most of the other stuff was more or less how it goes in the comics. I will say I really appreciate how they did the Alan the Alien segment in episode, excuse me, 3, where just they, instead of giving him the Invincible title card, they give him the Alan the Alien title card.
there's a whole narrator for the episode.
Yeah, it plays out almost exactly how it did in the comics, and because like in the comics it plays it like a much more traditional like Silver Age comic where it's like a narrator text box saying, "Oh, meanwhile on the planet, so and so, Alan is, and it goes through all that, but it's really interesting. It was almost a one-to-one adaptation from the comic. It felt like, so I really appreciated that. Um,
Yeah, the whole Alan stuff, all the everything about the Alan segment was awesome. I loved it.
hmm
Obviously,
Yeah,
because Peter Cullen, but Alan, freaking Seth
right.
Rogen, I was awesome.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. Um, yeah, I guess. Do you have any thoughts, just kind of bridging, between episodes 1 to 3? Kind of.
Um, That I can think of. I meant to touch on this earlier, but
hmm
I think that the Adam Eve special really kind of ties in really well, especially in the last two episodes,
Mm-hmm.
because it like I mentioned earlier, if it fleshes her out, and the direction. And now looking back at it, it kind of reflects on where she's gonna go for the season.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she wants to go back. She On the one hand, she wants to go back with her parents, which relatable because
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm doing.
Right. Yeah.
On the other hand, um, she has this responsibility as Adam Eve, or well, I know she's taking a break from being Adam Eve, but she has a responsibility to help, like you said, fix Weapon in Chicago
Mm-hmm.
because she can, not because she wants to. I mean, it's good that she wants to, but it's because she can.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to who she is as a character because she puts on her costume, she's a superhero, but I think it comes from a place that she generally likes helping people and wants to help people. Like you see in the just her going back to her parents and giving them that golden apple, like sell this. By the time I'm back, I don't want to see that apple on the counter. The dad's like, no, we don't want you. We're not going to do that.
I
And
forgot her dad.
yeah,
Like,
I man, yeah, I don't like her dad. But it comes from a place where like she might not get along with her parents super well, but like she still wants to help, and I think that's after everything in Chicago, after that first takes a turn for the worse, and she's able to like finish the job and do it right, and then we see her like hanging out with the old Guardians hideout. But yeah, gosh, I'm thinking now. It's like man, we got a lot of shit, a lot of ground was covered in these 4 episodes. Um, I want to give a brief shout out to the Darkwing segment, where he goes to what is that, Midnight City, I think, and it's just covered with like an aura. They say,
hey, why
"Oh,
does it look like 1990s Gotham City? Weird.
mm-hmm, yeah," and that's kind of that's how obviously how it is in the comics, and even reading it down, I'm like, are we talking about 1990s Batman, the animated series? Is this what we're referencing here? And considering what Invincible does with its inspirations, wearing them on its sleeve, it's like, yeah, it probably is. Um, and then we get the cool Nightwing fight in his little Shadow Realm, whatever bullshit. It's cool. Um, Not a huge fan of the Atlantis stuff. Wasn't a fan of that in the comics. It played out a little differently in the comics. Not hugely different. It's more or less the same. But we also, yeah, you talked about the Guardians of the Globe. That's one of the things I think this series does really well, both in the comics and the show, is that it plants all these seeds. Like, for example, episode one, we dealt with Levy, Levy, Angstrom
Levy.
Levy, um, and we got that set up, but we didn't really see the ramifications of that fully yet. We haven't seen what he's up to really. We got the Mahler twins doing their thing, and then we got payoff for that later at the end of this batch of episodes, which was great. Um, and then we have the Guardians of the Globe. We have Rex and Monster Girl starting to get a little comfortable together. That's cute. Couple of kids that are totally kids. Um,
Yeah,
right.
it's legal legal adult.
How old? Well, I guess it is Rex's or Robot's original brain. It gets complicated. Comics.
Yeah,
But like we see all that, and then we get the immortal stuff with duplicate, and it feels weird at first. I'm so used to it because it happens in the comics, and I know that that's a thing, and it's like no, it still feels a little weird initially, and I think that's intentional.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know what else I want to touch on as far as that. I mean, yeah, a lot of stuff being set up for the second half of the season and beyond. That really excites me as someone who loves what goes down later. But let's talk about that mid-season finale. How
Ooh,
how are we feeling after that?
I want more. I want to see where it goes.
Yeah, yeah,
I need it now. I need it like yesterday. But
yeah.
let me ask you this: you think Nolan
Hmm.
is truly reformed?
It's hard for me to talk about that without spoiling things. I think Nolan's a really interesting character as far as Viltrumites go because like you saw like the 3 or 4, well actually it was more than 4 there. I mean we saw General Craig and we saw a bunch of his underlings and stuff.
Mr. Krabs.
Yeah, Mr. Krabs, which weird that he's only getting attention for that now when he voiced the demon investigator from season 1, but whatever.
He did
um
the Hellboy
hmm
pastiche.
that totally is important, wink. He's not, that's the joke. um but what was I saying? Oh, I like, you see, you even see it too when we were talking to Optimus Prime at the Coalition of Planets, like their home base and stuff, and they're saying like Viltrumites don't just leave, and yet Nolan did. He didn't kill his son. He didn't take over the Earth. So I think he's been kind of reforming, from that initial incident, even like ever since he met Debbie, ever since he started raising Mark. Like I think he's already been changed fundamentally. We're just seeing him kind of come to terms with that. Like you see, their Viltrumites are like naturally violent creatures, for lack of a better term. They're just naturally violent people. Um,
Understatement.
so when he looks out at the bug planet and he's crying, like I think that tells you most of what you need to know about where he's at this point. So
Yeah.
he's definitely got some steps to take still, but like he's definitely on he's got a good start for sure.
Cool. Yeah. No, I agree. I honestly think that um I'm just happy he shows remorse for what he said because like if I had like stopped right there or not right
Hmm.
there, but if I had never watched season two, I would have thought that Nolan was an irredeemable bastard, but
Right.
clearly not. And what's really funny is so in case you didn't know, Omni Man is DLC character for Mortal Kombat 11.
Hmm.
I've been slowly playing it. I don't like the game though, but that's a conversation.
Totally different. Yeah, but I agree.
Yeah. Um a lot of his dialogue exchange in the game is just based off of season 1
Hmm.
Omni Man, whereas
Yeah.
like I think that I don't know if I would say that's a complaint about the game amongst many. I just think that it's like that it goes to show how important we consume media is because if I had just gone in knowing that and not
Hmm.
finished season 2, like I said, I would have thought he was like a villain and
Hmm.
just piece of shit. But no, the last episode shows that he still kind of is a bastard. I mean,
Right.
he's part Belgiumite. That's kind of in their blood and
Hmm.
their mustaches. Um, but shoot, what was it? Oh, um, it's nice that he can go against the grain and break out of the stereotype of mustache swirling villain.
Yeah.
Or maybe not mustache swirling mustache. Hmm. Are you are you are you part Viltrumite? Are you sure about that? Yeah, you. Yeah.
You gotta think.
Oh, hey, no, think more.
Oh man, I couldn't help but connect the dots when he said, "You gotta stop
Oh
thinking, Mark."
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
act.
which is it? Which is it? I'm getting Top Gun Maverick vibes here too. What the hell? Anyway, um, yeah, I mean, it's interesting to think about too when you consider the fact that Mark is also part Viltrumite. Like, granted, not full-blooded Viltrumite, but he is certainly a part of that. So, and it's interesting that when he says, when you look at alternate realities where he joins up with Nolan, that's like what happens most of the time, honestly.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to think about that, and I'm just gonna leave that there. Yeah, I don't know. How did how did that cold open work for you in that episode?
Wait for what?
For episode 4, where it cuts right to the title card. That scene right before that. Do you remember what it
Oh,
was?
oh yeah, yeah. I remember now. It took me a second. That is the best use of the title card joke. Oh
I
my
think
god,
so.
the first episode
Oh,
was
I
just
didn't even
good
touch
the
on
whole
that.
time.
Yep, yep. God, they lead you into thinking, oh, they're about to cut to the title card, and then they
And they
don't.
freaking pause too. When the actors in there, like they
Yep,
freaking pause, like they're no.
yep. They knew what they were doing. I loved
Oh,
that.
Uh,
That's his level of self-awareness that I love from this series, like the comics and the TV show. It's great. Um, but yeah, his new child. How did that hit you?
um, just damn, he gets around.
Homie, get around.
Um, I think honestly, how do I put it? The baby looks weird, but I mean,
Hmm.
there's the crippling depression that is knowing that his mom's species, the baby, um, is not gonna fucking live to see him grow up. That's just sad, man.
I didn't even think of that. I
Well,
just kind of,
they have like a what, an 8 or 9 month lifespan.
yeah, they don't live very long. Yeah,
I mean, that's depressing.
it is.
Then have his dad be this literally immortal mustache guy. Like, oh
Hmm.
my god, poor kid.
It's an interesting dynamic. I never really considered that because I just kind of assumed that once the Viltrumites came, she was kind of toast anyway. But maybe she isn't, and I missed it.
No, she's not,
She's not? Okay.
as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, I can totally look in the comics, but I'm not going to because I'm lazy. Um, yeah, it's a really fun set of reveals that A, were brought to this alien planet by someone pretending to be Seance Dog, which was a great bit. It played just as well in the comics as it did in the show, I think. But then you get to this bug planet. Not only do they seem fine, but oh shit, it's Omni Man. Oh shit, he's got a wife. Oh shit, he's got another kid. Okay, lots to
Oh
unpack here.
shit, he just tore that guy's insides out with his hand. Just go.
Swing. Yeah, that whole God, there was a funny moment when I was watching that mid-season finale. Didn't get to watch it till Friday, so the day after Thanksgiving.
Same.
And I was with my middle brother, and we were both just watching it. I'm like, "Hey, we're gonna watch this. Don't watch it. I want to watch this with you. I want to get your reactions, front and center." And we got to the part where Nolan's fighting the whip hair lady, and
Oh
when he pulls her and then just elbows her in the jaw. Right as my mom walked in with an armful of laundry, and she turns around and looks, and she's like, "What are you watching?" We're like, "Don't worry about it. It's great. It's good.
we're
It's great.
watching adult cartoon.
Adult
I know what
cartoon.
you're thinking of.
Don't worry about it." Wink. Um, yeah, no, I knew exactly what episode 4 was gonna have, and I think it delivered. I think those fights were grisly and brutal, just like they're supposed to be. And yeah, we got the bombshells. We got, Mark has a brother. What the fuck are we gonna do with that?
Like I said, that poor fucking kid, man. He's gonna have more trauma than Mark has, probably.
Oh man, I'm so curious to see how people. I'm not even gonna hint at anything.
Just
Um,
don't.
I'm not going to. Well, I guess I don't know. I think we've touched on most of the stuff we've really wanted to touch on. Before we wrap up, do you have any predictions or thoughts that you want to throw out there before we get the rest of the season early next year?
Someone's gonna die.
Bold choice for a Robert Kirkman series.
Correction. A lot of people are gonna die.
Ah, that's better. Yes. Okay.
Damn. Other predictions? Oh man. Okay, let me be. I'll get a little more specific.
Okay.
Someone from the Guardians is gonna bite it.
Okay.
I just don't know who. I'm afraid I don't want to say anyone because I'm afraid I'm gonna jinx it.
But as far as let's see, we got Angstrom Levy. We
Uh,
got
Levy.
a
I kind of
whole.
wish they show. Did they show anything with him in the last episode? I don't think they did.
I'm not sure they did.
So
Yep.
no, they had the post credit or the mid credit with the Mahler twin,
Yes.
which is fucking. That scene is killer, by the way.
Oh,
Plus,
incredible.
plus with the Run the Jewels needle drop, I always
Oh,
appreciated that.
they yeah. That's not the first time they've been featured on the show. I think they're somewhere in season one
Yeah,
too.
again with the Mahler twin.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Nah, man, it's some good shit.
Yeah.
But nah, I'm just really excited. I think Levy's gonna be a really interesting villain because you know, the paraphrase, power of the multiverse, the power of his hand.
Power of the multi. Well, actually, it's not paraphrasing because Spot says that in Across the Spider Verse. So
but it's not canon.
I guess. I guess yet. Um, yeah. No, I'll be curious to see what that where that goes. I was interested in seeing people's reactions to that because that's come out post Multiverse of Madness, post Spider-Verse movies.
But
Um,
this was all 15, 20 years ago worth in comic though.
right. And that's why I was so curious because I read this, in a day and age post Endgame, right before the first season was starting. So it's like multiverse stuff. I'm not new to it. I've read comics before, but um, it was interesting to see people kind of react like, not another multiverse deal again, and then see them watch and it's like, oh no, this is being handled a little better than I thought it would. And granted, we haven't seen the other shoe drop as far as that goes yet, so we'll get more of that certainly. But yeah, I'm definitely curious to see how people react to that, given that we're already sick of multiverses.
Yeah, I'm all sick of it too. As much as I love the concept,
It's
you know,
cool most of the time.
most of the time,
um,
when done right, when they let them cook.
it's time to cook. Um, yeah, I think if you got any other tidbits,
Um,
'cause I've actually remembered something I forgot about.
if anyone's been curious about what the hell I've been doing this whole time,
Ah, Hot Wheel.
I have a whole lunchbox of Hot Wheels underneath my bed. I just don't feel like
Heck
getting
yeah,
them.
heck
But
yeah.
what do you remember? You said you remembered something.
Oh, this bugged me in the last season too, but I think Great Allows being overused here.
Wait, what?
I think Great Allows she's voicing too many people.
Oh, a little bit.
A little
Yeah,
bit.
well, I love Gray, but yeah.
I do too, but like, you know, she's not voicing multiple people in Avatar. She's just Azula. Like here, she's Monster Girl and an important Viltrumite, so it's like let's tone it down a little bit. And I know that's not her only roles in the
Oh,
show too.
and Olga,
And Olga, good call, good call.
and probably like three more incidentals.
Yeah, at least. And it's like good, get
Hey,
that bag, but like
yeah, I was about to say that. Get that back, Gray. Use a little more Avatar money.
for real, she's not in live action. How could she be? Um, yeah. No, that was the only other thing I had. Yeah, I mean, I overall I think this season was, quite the first half of the season. Let me be clear. I think this first
Good
half,
start.
good start. Yes, I think animation's a little rough around the edges. I don't really know if there's anything we can really do about that at this point. I know they're probably pushing themselves to get this out as soon as they possibly could, and that sucks because that probably means there's a little bit of crunch at least.
Animation strike next year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. Yeah. All that being said, this was a good start. The
Yeah,
story of this is so strong that the animation problems nitpicks I might have are just kind of go by the wayside because I just enjoy the story and the world that they're building here. So
yeah, that's all that should matter at the end of the day is whether or not a good story is being told, which I
right,
believe it is.
right, yeah, and I think the best a show can offer you is when it has a good show and then it has good cinematography, good directing, good music choices, good editing. It all comes together to make one whole. You know. Um, I don't know if the whole here is as good as I want it to be, but at the end of the day, it is really, really quite good. And is if you haven't watched it and you just kind of got spoiled on the first half of the season and you haven't watched it,
What are you doing here?
go watch it. It's on Amazon. Give Jeff.
Watch no, go watch it instead. It's more interesting.
Listen, by the time we're done, and Grant, I'm probably gonna trim this down a little bit. You probably could have finished most of an episode by now. So, what are you doing here?
What are you
Leave
doing?
leave a like and comment before you do that, though.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Hell yeah.
You
Um,
better do that, future Will. Do it.
do it, Future Will. All right. Now that Future Will is aware of what he has his operative and knows what he has to do. Oh, I don't like that at all. Um, yeah, go watch Invincible. Go if you want to read it, read Invincible. Yeah, but also you can also watch our content on this channel. Leave a like, subscribe. We stream Mondays and Thursdays. We got plenty of big stuff coming down the pipeline. Maybe a certain. No, I won't even tease that. We'll wait till you have to wait and see what that is. Follow us on our
Wait a minute, I wanted to
socials.
know.
Follow us on our socials. We got stream announcements on there if I can remember to do those. We'll also have posts on there announcing when new videos are live. like this one. So yeah, definitely, follow us on there. Follow us on YouTube. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. We love interacting with y'all. Tell us what we're doing right. Only tell Will what he's doing wrong. Um,
My Twitter handle is at WTRZ117. Send me all
mhm,
of your
mhm,
hate. I
mhm.
will feed on it.
He does. I've seen him do it. It's obscene. Anyway, um, but yeah, no, this has been Patrick. That's Will,
All right.
and you've been our goodbye.